So this is just down near where the college is?
Yeah, I never actually went to that college, but I did go to Doncaster, so...
How did you end up at art school then? Do you know where it began?
When I was studying A-level, I really got passionate about design, and when I did foundation, my lecturer said, "You're a fine artist," and I didn't really know what that meant.
I had the same. I really wanted to do graphics and they made me do fine art.
Yeah, but I thought, oh, well, I can explore lots of other things when I do fine art, so I'll do that. And, you know, obviously with sort of that, you know, that generation of just do a degree and you'll get a job at the end of it, and then obviously...
Little did we know.
That wasn't always cracked up to be, and did well and stuff at uni, but then it didn't really translate to a job.
To anything,
yeah. So then you sort of have to start from scratch really when you've done a degree in art and try and figure out how you can make what you've studied and the work that you've done kind of mean something in the real world, I guess. I did a lot around being a miners' strike baby, and
it's a pretty heavy identity to have. I remember once someone telling me that I wasn't a miners' strike baby, almost like I didn't have the validation of that background. You know, like you're not proper working class because you're not the son of a miner.
It's really weird you said that, because I also had someone say to me, you can't be working class either because you're at uni. So,
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's all just like pigeonholing.
Well, and doing sort of art things in general, people assign as being middle class or upper class pursuit.
And obviously being in a really working class town like Doncaster, it is, you know, people are living like hand to mouth, and I've been living hand to mouth really in a lot of ways. I definitely feel that my identity and where I've come from shaped me, but growing up not knowing what it means to be from a mining background, or what the history is of this town that's a working class town, that's all been really important to explore and to make art about. Because
you were born during the strikes, is that right?
Yeah, because obviously it's getting to be well documented now, but obviously, you know, when the pits closed, so did everything else around it. And like, to understand what Doncaster's been through, it's like looking at a place that's kind of been through an earthquake, and everyone's trying to sort of readjust and rebuild and redefine what the place is. And that is basically the work that I'm doing in Doncaster really. It's kind of looking at that, and, you know, what is this town, you know, now? we do live in a society where we've lost that sense of community, where we look after one another, and that was very much the background that I'm from. So I think the things that I do have always got that kind of like this community thing around them. Yeah.
And I definitely think, is it almost that you want that same feeling again?
Yeah, I think so, because that's the thing that was kind of destroyed really when the pit shut. So we need to tell the stories, we need to show what the younger generations what actually happened, so they understand, because that's what I had to do in order to gain a sense of pride over.
Well, if you were born during the strikes, I guess you only caught it on the way out.
Like the aftermath, yeah.
It sort of strikes me from, you know, the Doncopolitan that you co-set up, and there seems to be an endless list of projects or things that you're doing or making happen in Doncaster and the sort of surrounding area. I mean, you seem like you like to work hard. Would that be accurate?
I think that's definitely come from my background. I mean, my dad, my granddad's, my great-granddad's. My mining roots go right back to 1700s with my great-great-grandma was a female coal miner. So I think that kind of work ethic's kind of ingrained
Stayed with you.
Yeah, a little bit. We're so used to working hard. It's like we can't not, you know. I think that's probably why we are doing so much, just because we are so passionate and hard-working.
Last year I got married and went on a honeymoon, which was an actual holiday. And it made me really sort of reevaluate and question what I had been doing and why I was doing it. And it seems that you're very motivated in what you do. What do you think that is?
I don't know how else to describe it other than an utter urgency, like this has to happen.
Yeah.
I guess that's that drive, but you know, I think there's always room to slow down and like in life and take it a bit easier.
Yeah, well, you got a dog now, so that's the first step.
I think as well, I think modern life in Britain right now is all about, everyone feels like they're on a bit of a conveyor belt, just trying to do more with less. Or part of what we're doing is we're wanting to build alternatives
with the Doncopolitan, it's been as much showing what's already here as encouraging new things to happen as well. I mean,
yeah, it's like a bit of a movement, really, because we're talking about writing a manifesto around food and creating cooperatives of farms and getting people back into work, because we know that the main issue here in Doncaster is the job loss, and since the pits and the closure of heavy industry, nothing that has replaced those kinds of jobs, and the jobs that are here, the low paid, low scale, the dead end.
And it's not rewarding.
No, so you spend 10 years and you don't really get anything back from it. And whereas the more skilled jobs, you could grow through them. You didn't have to, but obviously you could study, and it's what men did down the pit. You know, they'd be studying degrees working down pit, and they'd become trade union leaders and local councillors, and that's just gone, like that's completely gone. This could be something that we could really like create a new identity for our town, really.
Yeah.
I know what it's like to really struggle and to have things really crap, and to be talented and to
not have a way to do anything
yeah,
with it.
like the Doncopolitan, we get lots of young creatives that were like me, that are talented and passionate, and they've got ideas, and they just need that platform.
Well,
it's teaching, isn't it?
That's
you know,
the outcome you want, presumably, isn't it?
Yeah, and it feels great to be around that energy, and I'd rather be around that than in any profession at the moment, because in most professions, it seems, they just feel like, you know, it's all about doing more for less, and people are stressed.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, no, I'm going to create my life on my own terms, and I'd like for other people to be able to have that as well. Like,
well, that's really helping as well. I mean, directly helping people face to face, which I think is a very different thing sometimes to art making, because you often are doing these things on your own a lot of the time, isolated, and then you hope that it has some sort of influence or effect.
And I guess that's what my practice has always been about, really. It is about the public, and it is about people. I don't get time to reflect enough on what it is that I do, and
none of us really do, because you're often caught up just trying to make a living, get the next project done, make it happen. Yeah, when do you get to stop and really think about it?
No, you don't.
It's a luxury.
Yeah, it is.
A luxury that you can't normally afford.
No.
You don't want to be known as a community artist, or?
A little bit, yeah. And I think it's down to my degree, because it always seemed like if you weren't smart enough to do philosophy, then you'd do community art. I want geography lessons to be like opened up and be like, this is your community, this is where you're from, that's where the pit used to be, and everything around it, the roads, the river, the houses, everything was because of that, and people worked and died there. You know, when I was a teenager, I just looked at it as being, it's where my dad worked, it's the pit, but actually it's this fossilized stuff that
it's billions of years old.
And it's this creative, destructive force that's kind of fueled the Industrial Revolution, made England this superpower. You know, it's just insane actually what coal has created, and you know, we wouldn't be where we are in terms of technology or anything without the things that happened here.
The Industrial Revolution of the North is what's created ultimately the mess we're in now. But
me and my mum went to China, and I remember being like going to this mausoleum of this Chinese emperor, and like looking at the top of it and seeing a coal mine and a slag heap, and I was like, I feel like I'm in South Yorkshire, and it just sort of blew my mind that that's kind of the legacy of this that's kind of come from this area. And the only reason was that people were freezing, and all the trees were all chopped down. In this country, we would freeze to death unless we created a way to heat, and people didn't want to burn coal because they saw it as being like the devil and from hell. And
well, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they didn't originally. I mean, the Romans used to make jewellery out of coal. People didn't really like burning it. They saw it as being like satanic and anti-Christian and stuff like that, but it became a necessity as all the huge forests were chopped down. And
what did you have left?
Yeah, so people started burning it, and then obviously they realised that, you know, steam engine, etc. There you go. Coal. Now this is the future we live in. Oil, you just strike oil. You're a rich Texan. You drill a hole in the ground, and it's just you and the direct energy source. Whereas coal, it needed all this workforce around it. Yeah, and this whole community in order to create the energy source. So it's much easier to just drill a hole than it is to, you know, stay in these communities to mine. And it's powerful. And the guys at the pit where my dad worked, that in '72, they were really militant, and they closed the pits. People went without electricity because these communities had control of the energy source.
Yeah.
And it's been a lot of learning and exploring and trying to understand it all really over the years. And that's led to
everything you do now.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe this is a bit corny, but it feels like you believe in art, which I'm not sure a lot of artists necessarily do.
Yeah, I think I do, which I do believe it can change things. I do, yeah. I don't think it has to, though. I think you can just purely make art just because you've got an urgency to create, and I really appreciate and love artists that just do that. But I'm not one of those artists. I'm like an activist and an artist at the same time. Some people say, well, that's not art. I know what I do is it's a creative process, and that to me makes it art, really. How
do you feel about Doncaster these days and your sort of place within it?
I feel really at home in Doncaster now, and although I never thought that it'd be a place that I would want to stay, and you know, the thing is, it's a cultural desert. That's what people would have said maybe 10 years ago, but it has changed a lot. There hasn't been much of an arts infrastructure, but I've always thought it's been a bit of a blank canvas, and to be honest, I felt, well, that having a blank canvas, it's a creative thing in itself. Yeah,
it's exciting to be the one to really set these things up and make them happen.
I felt like I wanted to do it. If I was going to stay here, then I needed these things here, so then I just thought, well, I just want to help people and collaborate. And over the last probably 10 years, like, we've had to collaborate in order to make things happen. And so maybe in Doncaster, because there's been no infrastructure, people have been doing really cool, interesting stuff, but just working in silos. All I kind of did was just say, let's collaborate, let's just do things, let's put on exhibitions, let's, you know.
Well, it's like collated as well. Like, I mean, that seems with the Doncopolitan as a magazine, what you're really doing is bringing all these things together and actually showing what is happening and what is there.
I feel like doing the magazine is the same as curating an exhibition in a way. It's like you're just bringing these elements together, and it feels like a same process like editing as well. I guess when you don't really 100% know, like, this one thing is my thing, then why not just try and explore all these other art forms and these things? So that's what I've been doing, and I've been happy doing that.
Do you have hope for Doncaster then?
Yeah, definitely. I think Doncaster, and especially here and where we've just been, it's one of the most poorest areas in Northern Europe. So that sounds really depressing, but actually it's meant that I can have a shop in a studio to work from, and I can live in a house on the same street because it's not super expensive, and I can afford that on my part-time job, which means I free up my overtime. So to me, it's like I'm living the dream life, really. And of course, there's problems here, but you know, there's a lot of people suffering, and there's a lot of people that need help and things like that. Because I think some people would struggle because they feel like it's not cultured enough, or it's not enough here. There's not enough culture here. I don't know. I see culture as a different thing. I think, you know what I mean. I see culture at working men's clubs. You know, like that's a serious culture. It is. I love it. Like, you know, all the old Northern Soulies and stuff like that. Like seeing what they do. I think if you want, the thing is, Doncaster's just not like got like an identity. But if I brought you to the places that I go to, you would see culture. You would see something absolutely fascinating. I don't know, it's that kind of thing. You don't really need to travel the world to discover it. You can just come to discover, like, England now, like come to somewhere like Doncaster, and you can sort of see what people's lives are about. And
well, it feels like we're often told what we think culture should be, or what is cultural, or what it is to be cultured, when in fact all of us, in lots of different ways, have our own cultures and have our own histories. And it feels important not to forget that. Yeah, it is, like, and you are at the front line of life, so you can see what is actually happening in the world. It's on your doorstep, so you can't ignore it. Especially, obviously, where I live, right in the heart of it all. We're on the ground, so to speak.
Yeah. So I feel really informed on what's happening in the world. And I've been brought into a place that's been through an earthquake and trying to rebuild and kind of create a new identity from nothing, really. Because that's how you feel growing up in these areas. You feel like you're nothing, and you feel like you have to get out and you have to achieve in order to become something.
To feel recognised.
To feel recognised and feel like you are something. Because, I used to go to the local library and stuff like that as a kid, and I'd see, poetry competitions and things like that. I think, oh, things like that aren't for people like us. So everything I've done has been like, wow, actually, you can people like you can do stuff like this. People like you from these areas can
do it better as well.
I feel really passionate about helping and supporting young creatives, because I feel like now I've opened the door for myself. It's like a glass ceiling. I feel like I've pushed that glass ceiling out. I said, look, I can do it. I'm from, ex-mining village that's apathetic, that's northern, that's racist, it's all those, it's poor, it's all those stereotypes about towns like Doncaster. And I can say, no, actually, it doesn't have to be like that. So especially with like the young people and stuff that are coming up now and coming through Doncopolitan, and I'm just like, let's get him on an accelerator, get him in Doncopolitan for like 6 months and get him out and doing stuff and doing, like I didn't curate the poetry exhibition, that was one of our interns, and that was a paid commission from the local shopping centre. But that's been, I think 20,000 people a week go through that shopping centre. It's mental. Yeah. And that's an opportunity that we managed to create. That's more than
most galleries get.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So it's like, Donny's this blank canvas, let's get all these young creatives in and just enjoy being here and creating stuff. So that's it, really.